Washington received his second inauguration. His first one was in New York City. This is also where John Adams was inaugurated. The Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, was given to us from Congress Hall. That's right here at the corner of this building, which you'll see on your right. Thank you. And this is also where the assembly room is, and that is where we adopted and signed our Constitution and Declaration of Independence. Here on your right, this is Old City Hall rooms. So you can see ours is about 700 now. This is Library Hall to your right, and the statue out in front of it is not Tom Jones, it is North Clymer. He represents all the signers of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. This building we're coming up to here on your right, it is Greek Revival architecture. It was created by Louis Strickland. So what he did was wear it. So you can see his actual hair color, which is bright red. And that's how
American Philosophical Society.
here to stop getting their government put together. That was considered, he didn't listen to what they were saying. It wasn't until they received the Declaration of Independence that he actually opened it and took the colony seriously. This is stop number 3 here. There's a lot of art galleries around here. During the first Friday of every month, they have what's called First Friday, and that's when the art galleries stay open later and you can go and sample their wines. Each floor only has one room, and it's referred to Father, Son, the Holy Ghost, and trust me, the only thing who've been added is the ghost. And one day he lit up his pipe and ours lit up as well. And then there's her next husband is Joseph Ashburn. He was a sea merchant for the Americas, which was treasonistic for the people of England. And he was captured and he was jailed in. Betsy was a Quaker. She was more of a free Quaker, which is she was silent, so they wouldn't sit in silence, and they would basically just express themselves from the spirit to move them. And that is everyone here will talk to him about that. And yeah, you can walk over here on your left. Right here we're going to turn into an iron gate, and just beyond that is a marble slab. This is the pennies that are thrown upon it. And it's considered good luck to throw your pennies on top of the Benjamin Franklin's grave. Even though he was willing to say a penny saved is a penny earned. It does need to work with the church though, because they saved about $3,000 to $6,000 each year and donated to charity. Benjamin Franklin found a lot of interesting things. They found 77 bodies. And see the city as William Penn does. Stop number 8. This is here at the Gender Center. This is basically to mark the 20-year liberation of Auschwitz. There's the fire coming out the top. We didn't really like what the Puritans did. And then those things on the bottom there, they look like little seats. That says Franklin. So Benjamin Franklin came up with the first library. He believed that you should be able to borrow a book and be able to return it. So we got wanted to plate it in gold for us, and then he could give us back. And it was a sort of a difference that only an artist could tell, but he really wanted to keep the one he liked better for Paris. So we gave it back to him, and then he sent us the other one. We didn't find out for 20 years later. By that point, it was so hard to run up. And there used to be a statue up top of Rocky Balboa, and the art museum loved it, so they actually put it back where these stadiums are on South Broad Street. The north pediment over here, there's the north, the south, and the east pediment. We wanted to do that to every single pediment. Those are life-size pieces are shown on it. And the men designed the boxes here across the street. Government for the people, government for the people, by the people, of the earth. Skyscraper. So that's why I made this. And you can get these at any food store, like a souvenir. He actually also did it for Rodin, the representation of the kiss.
Move right. Minor attraction, and sometimes people called it the Independence Bell, but it was actually the 1830s when it acquired the nickname. You see, in the 1830s, abolitionists found out that around the top of this bell there was a very special statement. It happens to say, "Proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof." That's a Bible verse from Leviticus 25:10, and that was pretty common to have things like that on bells. But kind of ironic that that statement was on this bell, which hung in that particular building. Well, nonetheless, abolitionists thought that that statement would be a perfect, or the bell itself would be a perfect symbol in their cause in trying to end slavery. So they used its image in their pamphlets, they wrote poems and songs about it, and they started the nickname, the Liberty Bell. So with the abolitionists, you have this tradition now of using it as a symbol for various causes. And to give you an idea, after the Civil War, this bell was somewhat of a peace ambassador. It traveled across the U.S. by train to bring people back together again, heal the wounds, and get everyone patriotic again. That's when a lot of the false stories happened also. Later on in the early 20th century, women still did not have the right to vote, and they actually made a copy of this bell, wrapped it up in chains, and refused to let it ring till women got that right in 1919. Later on in the 50s and 60s, if you lived here around then, you might remember hearing about sit-ins, students having sit-ins around this bell for the civil rights movement. Now we still get that same kind of activity today. We've had protesters taking over the building to make a statement of their cause, or we've had more somber, more planned activities which often involve leaders from around the world. So with all that, I'm going to ask that same question I started out with. How many people here think the bell is still working? Did I convince anybody? You have to think about it this way. Physically, of course it can't ring a note. In fact, it's so fragile that even tapping on it is bad. Please remember that in a few minutes when you get closer to it. But on the other hand, I mentioned the reason why this bell was made in the first place was to call people together. It's gotten a little crowded since we started out in here, and I'm willing to bet there's people in this room from all over the world. So it definitely say symbolically, definitely working, and I'm glad you got to see the original bell. Now, I know probably a lot of you want to take some pictures. With all of us in here like this, we do need to cooperate together so we can all get some nice photos. So I'm going to ask if you can keep the front clear, about 7 feet back. You can take turns with your pictures, and then when you're ready to exit, go out the side.
So as I'd mentioned out there once before, if you did come in toward the end of the presentation, we will be giving another one in English in give or take about 4 or 5 minutes. If you do need something in the internet, if you're a teacher, please be sure to get your